The Girl and the Weeping Tree. In a village nestled between rolling green hills and a river that sang songs of old, there lived a girl named Nyambura. Her mother had been the most beautiful woman in the land, with skin like polished mahogany and eyes that held the warmth of the morning sun. But when Nyambura was only 7 years old, her mother fell ill and passed to the spirit world. Her father, heartbroken, followed a year later. Nyambura was left alone in the world. Her only living relative was her uncle, a stern man who lived on the far side of the river with his wife, Akinyi, and their daughter, Ityambo. He came for Nyambura with heavy steps and heavier silence. "She is my brother's child," he told the elders. "She will come with me." But from the very first day, Nyambura knew she was not welcome. Akinyi, her aunt, was a woman whose face seemed permanently pinched with bitterness. She had never been beautiful, and she resented the girl who carried her mother's radiance like a torch. "What use is a pretty face without strong hands?" Akinyi sneered. "You will work for your keep, orphan girl." And so Nyambura became a servant in her own uncle's home. She rose before the sun to fetch water from the river, her small feet slipping on the wet stones. She cooked. She swept. She washed clothes until her fingers wrinkled. She tended the goats and chickens. And when the day was done and her back ached, she slept on a thin mat by the cooking fire, while Ityambo slept on soft skins in the warm hut. Ityambo, her cousin, was a plain girl with a mean heart. She had been told her whole life that she was the most beautiful girl in the village, until Nyambura arrived. "You think you are special," Ityambo would whisper, pinching Nyambura's arm. "You are nothing, a beggar, a pest. Look at your rags, look at your dirty feet. No one will ever want you." Nyambura said nothing. She had learned that silence was the only shield that could not be taken from her. Part 2. The Firewood Expedition. One dry season, when the sun burned gold and the earth cracked with thirst, Ityambo's mother ordered Nyambura to gather firewood. "Take Ityambo and the other girls," Akinyi commanded, "and do not return until your bundle is twice the size of all the others." So Nyambura, Ityambo, and 6 other village girls walked into the forest, their feet kicking up dust on the dry path. They searched for fallen branches and dead wood. Nyambura worked twice as hard as anyone, her arms soon laden with heavy logs. Ityambo, meanwhile, barely carried a few twigs, complaining all the while that her feet hurt and the sun was too bright. "The forest is dead," Ityambo whined. "There is no good firewood anywhere." But then, as they ventured deeper than they had ever gone, they came upon a clearing they had never seen before. And in the middle of that clearing stood a tree like none they had ever witnessed. It was tall and proud, with leaves that shimmered like emeralds in the sunlight. Its branches drooped with fruit, plump golden fruits that glowed from within, each one the size of a child's fist. The sweetest smell hung in the air, making their mouths water. "A mango tree," one girl whispered. "No," another said, stepping closer. "I have never seen this fruit before. It is magical." Ityambo was the first to reach the tree. She grabbed a fruit and bit into it. The juice ran down her chin, and her eyes widened in delight. "So good," she cried. "Eat, eat before I take them all." The girls rushed forward, laughing and shoving. Even Nyambura, hesitant at first, felt her hunger overwhelm her fear. She plucked a fruit and bit into it, and the taste exploded on her tongue like honey and sunshine and every good thing she had ever dreamed of. They ate until their bellies were full. They ate until the juice stained their fingers and dripped down their chins. They laughed and sang and danced beneath the magical tree. But when the sun began to sink toward the horizon, casting long shadows across the forest floor, they gathered their firewood and prepared to leave. "The elders will wonder where we are," one girl said. "Let us go before dark," said another. They started walking. Nyambura, weighed down with her massive bundle of firewood, fell behind. That's when she heard it. A rustle behind her, a soft, deep voice like distant thunder. "Wait for me." Nyambura froze. She turned slowly. The magical tree was no longer standing in the clearing, it was walking. Its roots moved like thick, gnarled legs. Its branches swayed as if reaching for her. It followed her through the bush, whispering with every step. "Wait for me, Nyambura." Nyambura screamed and ran. Adhiambo, wait," she cried, stumbling through the undergrowth. Adhiambo turned, and her ugly face twisted in mockery. "What is wrong with you, orphan? Have you seen a ghost?" The tree is following me." Adhiambo laughed, a cruel, barking laugh. "The tree is following you? We all ate from that tree. Why would it follow only you?" "I don't know," Nyambura sobbed, glancing back. The tree was still there, pushing through the bushes, its roots thumping against the earth. "Please, let us walk faster." But Adhiambo only walked slower, dragging her feet, smirking as Nyambura trembled. "Run if you want," Adhiambo said. "The tree will catch you anyway. It has chosen you, the orphan, the beggar, the filthy little servant. Even the forest knows you are nothing." The other girls looked back with wide eyes, but they followed Adhiambo's cruel lead. They walked quickly, abandoning Nyambura to her terror. Nyambura dropped her firewood and ran as fast as her tired legs could carry her. Behind her, she could hear the tree. "Wait for me, my love. Do not run from me. I only want to see your face." Tears streamed down Nyambura's cheeks. "Why?" she wept. "Why am I the only one? I did not eat more than the others. I did not take more than my share. Why have you chosen me?" The tree did not answer. It only followed. Part 3. The Hideous Revelation. Nyambura burst into her uncle's compound, gasping and crying. Auntie, help me. A tree is chasing me." Akinyi came out of the hut, her face twisted with irritation. "A tree? Chasing you? Have you lost your mind, girl?" "It is true," Nyambura sobbed. "It came from the forest. It is coming." Adhiambo arrived moments later, smirking with cruel delight. "She is telling the truth, mother. A tree followed her, but it was because she took from a forbidden tree. She has brought a curse upon our house." Akinyi's eyes widened. "A cursed tree? You brought a cursed tree to my home, you worthless, wretched girl." But as she raised her hand to strike Nyambura, the earth began to tremble. The tree had arrived. It pushed through the fence, its roots cracking the ground. It stood in the middle of the compound, towering over them, its leaves rustling with an otherworldly sound. Akinyi screamed. Adhiambo hid behind her mother. Even Nyambura cowered, though she was too exhausted to run. The tree spoke again, but this time its voice was different, softer, warmer, like a river flowing over smooth stones. "Do not fear me, Nyambura. I have followed you because you are the only one who did not deserve to be followed." "What?" Nyambura whispered. The tree continued. "I was cursed by an old magician long ago, turned into a tree until a maiden with a pure heart should eat of my fruit and think not of herself, but of others. The other girls ate and thought only of their own pleasure. But you, Nyambura, you ate and I saw your heart. Even as the fruit touched your lips, you worried if the other girls had enough. You thought of your aunt at home and whether you would be punished. You thought of your burden, but you did not complain. You accepted your suffering with grace." The tree began to glow, a brilliant golden light that made the whole compound shine like sunrise. "You are beautiful, Nyambura, but your beauty is not the beauty of your face. It is the beauty of your spirit." The bark cracked, the branches folded inward, the roots twisted and contracted. And where the tree had stood, a young man now stood. He was tall and strong, with skin like dark honey and eyes like the sky before rain. His clothes were made of silk and gold, and a crown of woven vines sat upon his head. "I am Prince Mwangi," he said, bowing deeply. "I was cursed by a jealous magician who could not bear my father's love for me, but your kind heart has broken the spell." Nyambura stared. Her mouth opened, but no words came. Adhiambo shrieked. "A prince, a real prince, and she gets him. This is not fair." "Silence," Prince Mwangi said, and his voice was cold as he turned to her. "You spent years tormenting this gentle girl. You mocked her. You worked her like a slave. You never once saw the treasure in your own home." He turned to Akinyi, who was pale as ash. "And you took a motherless child into your home and treated her worse than a goat. You are a disgrace." He looked at Nyambura and smiled, a smile of pure warmth. "Nyambura," he said, offering his hand, "come with me. My father's kingdom is large and beautiful. You will never be a servant again. You will be a queen." Part 4. The Reward and the Punishment. Nyambura took his hand. Her heart pounded. Her cheeks burned. "My uncle," she began. "Your uncle," Prince Mwangi said, glancing at the trembling man who had never once defended her, "will be left to his own devices. His wife and daughter have brought shame upon his name. He must decide whether to be a man or a mouse." The uncle dropped to his knees. "Forgive me, Nyambura. Forgive me. I was blind. I was weak." Nyambura looked at him, this man who had shared her father's blood, but had never shared his kindness. "I forgive you," she said quietly, "but I cannot stay." And with that, Prince Mwangi led her out of the compound and into the forest. Behind them, the earth rumbled. The fence fell. The chicken coop collapsed. And Adhiambo, who had spent years making Nyambura miserable, found her own face in a broken mirror and screamed, for her plainness had become hideousness. "He took my beauty," she wailed. "He cursed me." No one had cursed her. The reflection was simply the truth of her ugly heart made visible. Part 5. The Happy Ever After. Nyambura and Prince Mwangi traveled to his kingdom, a land of rolling green hills, sparkling rivers, and villages where children laughed and old people sang. His father, the king, welcomed Nyambura with open arms. "She broke the curse," the king said, embracing her. "Anyone who can break such a dark magic is worthy of my son." Nyambura and Mwangi were married in a grand ceremony. She wore a dress of gold and white, with flowers woven into her hair. The people danced and feasted for 7 days. And Nyambura became a queen. But she never forgot her own suffering. She built homes for orphans. She established kitchens where poor children could eat. She taught girls to read and write, telling them, "Your beauty is not in your face, it is in your heart. Cultivate that and no one can ever steal it from you." And so she lived happily ever after, not because a prince had rescued her, but because her own goodness had drawn him to her. As for Adhiambo and Akinyi, they lived in bitterness and shame, their smallness of spirit growing uglier with each passing year. The villagers often say, "If you see a beautiful fruit tree in the forest, pause before you eat. It might be testing you. And remember, the tree always knows who has a pure heart." The end. Adapted from the oral traditions of the Luo people and other East African communities, where magical trees, kind-hearted orphans, and poetic justice are woven into tales passed down through generations.